This is 3 News Daily.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Daily. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thanks for being here on this Wednesday, September 28th, for your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Let's get started with what's happening here. Yesterday, we told you that Ohio Task Force 1 was heading to Florida to help with disaster relief for Hurricane Ian. And today we know that Ian has been elevated to a Category 4 storm and is quickly on its way to being a Category 5 disaster. Our weather team is working on updates for all of us and what this might mean for our friends and loved ones in Florida. We'll have updates for you on WKYC.com as the storm gets closer to the west coast of Florida. Now let's talk about something that impacts the entire world. About 2.3 billion people did not get the food that they needed last year. And with the war in Ukraine, the cost of food is getting higher and higher. So today, the White House will host its first conference on hunger, nutrition, and health since 1969. Yesterday, President Biden introduced a plan to end hunger in the U.S. by 2030. His plan includes expanding monthly benefits to help low-income Americans buy the food that they need. And in case you weren't aware, here in Cleveland, the poverty rate is almost 30%. That is one of the highest poverty rates in the country. So we are not immune from this here in Northeast Ohio. Our Carmen Blackwell is on the story today, and so you'll want to check back with us starting at 4 p.m. for more from her on what this means for Northeast Ohio. And now we have an update for you on the sentencing of Tamara McLoyd. She's been sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Cleveland police officer Shane Bartek on New Year's Eve. She'll be eligible for parole, but not for decades. She's 19 years old now, and the sentencing judge says she doesn't think she'll be eligible until she's in her 70s because of the sentences for her crimes in addition to murder. For example, she also has to serve additional sentences for the robbery charges, so it'll be 54 years before she would first be eligible for parole. And in Cuyahoga County Court today, 2 former police officers are facing charges of bribery, tampering, and fraud. DeMarco Johnson and Vaughn Harris were indicted by a grand jury this morning, and the judge has set their bond at $5,000 each for both Harris and Johnson. And as a reminder, last week, East Cleveland Police Chief Scott Gardner was also arraigned on theft and fraud charges. And in another courtroom today, Armin Johnson appeared this morning for sentencing for the July 2019 murders of 4 people, including 2 young children, and one of those children was his own son. This was in Cleveland's Slavic Village neighborhood. Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley's office says the murders were brutal and is demanding the death penalty. Johnson was found guilty of shooting and killing Takira Collins and David Cousin and setting fire to Takira's house with his son, who he shared with Takira, and Takira's daughter inside. They were 6 and 2, and they died in that fire. Thinking of them and their family. Okay, now to an update on the health of Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett. The Browns have given us an update because remember, we told you about his car crash in Medina County that happened on Monday. Well, we know a little bit more about his injuries. The Browns are saying he has shoulder pain, strained biceps, minor cuts and scrapes, and some bumps and bruises. And we also know today he'll be staying off the field. He's resting at home. He is expected to be at the facility tomorrow morning. That's according to head coach Kevin Stefanski. And we also know that he did clear the concussion exam, so he has not been ruled out of playing in Sunday's game in Atlanta. The Browns say he'll be evaluated by team doctors throughout the week, so we'll be looking for those updates. Now today, big news out of Cleveland Hopkins International Airport with a major air service announcement, and this is a lucky one for fans of Ireland because earlier this week, Cleveland City Council had talked about plans to start a direct service from Cleveland to Dublin, Ireland, and we do know that that is now officially happening. That plan includes $600,000 for Irish airline Aer Lingus to offer those direct flights for 3 years. So that new direct service to Dublin will take off in May of 2023, so not too far from now. Our own Neil Fisher will have more details for us on what this means for traveling Clevelanders. That'll be starting at 4 o'clock, and of course we'll have that on the website and on the app. And that brings us to our question of the day. Nonstop flights to Ireland were announced today, as we just covered, out of CLE. So we want to know, what other nonstop destinations would you like to see out of the Cleveland airport? Someone had already said Aruba. I need to check on that. There might already be a direct flight to Aruba. If there is, I think we all need to be on it. Post your comment on the WKYC Facebook page, and we'll talk about it during What's New at 4 o'clock. And before we go today, we need to talk about the AL Central Division champs, your Cleveland Guardians. They're back playing tonight, hosting the Tampa Bay Rays, thankfully, here in Cleveland. It was a long night for baseball last night, though, and it didn't go their way. They opened a 3-game series with Tampa Bay with a loss. The game was tied 4-4, and then it went into extra innings, and the Rays scored 2 runs in the top of the 11th to get that win. So after last night's loss to Tampa Bay, the Guardians hope to change that luck in Game 2 tonight, and that is starting at 6:10 p.m. We are happy to have Tampa Bay here in Cleveland, and we are thinking of everyone in Florida. Again, we'll keep you updated on what that means down there in Florida and what it means here for us here in Northeast Ohio. Thanks for being here for 3 News Daily. We'll see you back here tomorrow.